and I kind of just always had big snakes. I actually haven't been breeding snakes that long.
Right.
I didn't really start breeding until, I don't know, 2004, but I'd been keeping for forever. See, back in the 80s and 90s, it wasn't like before the ball python market, this was a different industry, right? Like some people bred and some people kept, and it was just whatever. You know, now it's a totally different environment. So like, you know, if you just wanted to have a bunch of stuff and just have a bunch of stuff, it was cool. And if you wanted to breed, that was cool. You know what I mean? So like, I just got to the point where I was like, well, I got all this stuff, I might as well just breed it. That's actually how I started breeding snakes.
Right. But you kind of came in a unique time because you're getting your hands on some really rare shit, which is still relevant to you today. And I kind of want to talk about why it was reticulated pythons for you. Like, obviously, we're talking quite a bit of a jump, which happens to a lot of people as they grow older. But what was it about? First and foremost, hold on. How did this happen? Like, how did you even get in contact with Cameron from Bushmaster to the point where you had something going on with him and other legends in this game?
Oh, I had retics well before any of that.
Oh, wow.
I caught my first Superdorf, I think, in 2006.
Okay.
Or something.
And just a morph, or what was it?
No, it was a wild-caught Calico.
Wow. Oh, excuse me. Superdorf, you said. My bad.
Yeah.
Wow. So your first Calico was in 2006?
2006 or 2007. Because there was no interest in them. And they got put on a bunch of like wholesaler lists that went to pet store, and a pet store 30 minutes away got them in, and they couldn't sell them. And the one employee, he bought them, and then he ended up selling them to me. That was like 2006, 2007. But I got my first retic when I think it was 19. It was a wild caught yellowhead. And then when I was 22, I got a pair of retics, and you know, it's just had them since. But I always had berms and shit, and I just. Right. I don't know, man. Like, there's just something different about a retic.
I mean, some people are just really like head over heels with like gentle giants, like you know, a retic or a berm. You know, like think about like an elephant or a giraffe. I said this on the other show. Like, I mean, just to see something that gigantic, you know, it's like you obviously know it's rooted from another place where there was no humans at some point. You know?
Yeah.
And it's just really and honestly, that's kind of what breaks my heart to see how they're being treated to this day, which we'll get to. But you know, obviously, you have a lot attachment to what's popular today, super dwarfs, right? I don't know about right now, but you know, the hype. There was a huge hype over super dwarfs. That's what got me in. Yeah. But I want to know why it was that you were kind of you know, you like Calitos, but I feel like you were always a locality guy. Like I always felt like that's kind of like the stuff you were trying to get your hands on more. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I really like the localities because like a long time ago, I was saying, hey, these are different species or different subspecies. Like it's just what they are. They're not the same fucking snake. Mm-hmm. And when I got those super dwarfs in, you know, I couldn't believe how small they were. I was like, holy shit. So even back then, I was like, well, here's a more manageable animal to us in the retic industry to start segueing into.
Right.
And unfortunately, when we lost importation, that kind of killed that. But
what year was that, Rodney? I'm sorry. Remind me what year that was.
I announced that shit in 2014. Then by 2015, I mean, that's when the law was. But as soon as I announced it, a lot of importers had just shut down. They're like, we're not even fucking with this.
Right.
So my last shipment of retics was in 2014. And,
wow.
You know, and I'd had Slayers, Bollies. Actually, at the height of my locality collection, I had, I think, 17 localities. I had Malaysian, Sumatran, Javan, Bali, Ambon, Siam, Halma, Ternate, everything out of the super dwarfs, the Phils, Bhutans, Sulawesi. There's a ship out.
So what's your take? What's your take on certain localities being more fucking aggro than the other?
Siams are fucking rough, dude.
Okay, no matter what.
Yeah, see, I had never. I mean, Halmas are pretty rough, but I would probably say the meanest locality I ever got was Siam.
We got it easy now as far as how docile majority of these are because how much they've been bred. But like, think about being a part of that journey and getting them in fresh. How were they coming in? Was some of them coming in okay, or were they all fucked up? Like, I'm curious about that.
The ones that came in fucked up don't make it. You know what I mean? The ones that come in, they're fucked up. They're full of parasites. They don't do well.
Were you like were you just put those ones down, or were you trying to get those to
go? You know, you let them go. You do let them do their thing. You hit them with some Panicure and some Flagyl and see what you can do.
See what happens. Yeah.
You know, and you know, I mean, dude, it is what it is, man. Like, because you know, a lot of stuff gets a high parasite load in the wild, and then when they roll into captivity, they were handling those parasite loads, but now they're all stress. It's like people, man. Like, you have a bunch of stress in your life, stuff that, you know, that wouldn't normally fuck you up. Well, a cold will put you down if you're under a whole bunch of stress. It's the same thing. It's no different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Ternates did amazing. I remember the one I got in, and I was feeding like 2 days later, and I offered it frozen thawed, and it took it. 2 days. Yeah. 2 days at my house from the wild was eating frozen thawed.
Ternates is definitely, I just want to say, you know, shout out to Andrew Acevedo for even putting me on game with you. Like, that guy definitely put me on game with a lot of people. So like I always said, whatever he told me, I really took to heart, and I didn't let it go in one ear out the other. But then also, you know, you and I slowly started talking, and I would just kind of listen to as far as what it all that you would work with. But really, man, those Ternates, I don't know what it is about them, but I like dark contrast looking snakes, and that is just my jam, man. And man, dude, would you say that's your bread and butter? Like, that's at all the localities, that's the one you stand tallest on, or no?
Well, that was the one that I managed to acquire the most of, and my goal was my goal with those was to at least create one sustainable line of locality to have to work with, because I wasn't banking on any interstate commerce coming back. So I had like 16 or 17 different localities. I had to thin that down, and I'm like, well, if I can't really make money off these, what do I want to do?